sounds like a velociraptor from Jurassic Park, doesn't it? I once was out fishing, walking in some swampland. I kid you not, I heard that sound right next to me. It freaked me right out. I turned my head over and all I see is this giant bird. That bird was actually a Sandhill crane. Now, these birds are huge. Like, they have a wingspan of 7.5 feet. And when they're standing, they're over 4 feet tall.
7.5 feet should be. Welcome back to another reaction video. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Onel, and to my left is Thelma, to my right is Chelsea. Shout out to Thelma and Chelsea. So today we're reacting to the most mysterious animals in Ontario, Canada. Mysterious. So family, we don't know what to expect here. We can't wait to check this out. But in other words, we think you should subscribe to this channel and get it to 3,000 subscribers. Very soon we hit 3,000 subscribers, and from there we head to 100,000. What do you think? Yeah. So let's see what these people have.
So many animals which the public are just not aware live here. Animals which are definitely worth taking the time to really learn about. In this video, we're going to go over 20 animals which are practically unknown to the Ontario public, and we're going to save the most fascinating one of the bunch for last. An animal which very well may be completely undiscovered to science. To begin, let's start with the most magical animal you could ever hope to see in our Ontario wilderness. Everyone is always captivated by the beauty of the white moose, which sometimes is called the spirit or ghost moose. However, if you ever wanted to see one of these animals in the wild for yourself, you might think that you need to fly to Sweden to see it.
To see a moose that is white. How do they look like? This one seems to have lost weight a lot.
However, if you ever wanted to see one of these animals in the wild for yourself, you might think that you need to fly to Sweden to see them or somewhere else on the globe. However, Ontario actually has over 50...
I need to see it again. Hold on. Look at how tall this thing compared to a human. This thing is big.
Somewhere else on the globe. However, Ontario actually has over 50 white moose estimated to be living in one area, which would be Folliet, Ontario and Ivanhoe Lake Provincial Park, which is just west of Timmins. Most of the sightings actually happen right off the main highway. The area actually gains some local tourism from the animals as well, as many travel out specifically to this area in hopes of seeing one. Thankfully, these animals are protected from hunting by law, as you are prohibited from shooting moose with more than a 50% white shaded coat. They truly are beautiful creatures, aren't they? Now let's move on to another big white animal living in Ontario that you might not know is here. Ontario is home to the southernmost population of wild polar bears in the whole world. Most people don't realize that polar bears live in Ontario just because, where they live is so far north. It's in an area with almost no human presence. Their range includes the southwestern coast of Hudson Bay, especially near Polar Bear Provincial Park, and along James Bay coast. Apparently this area is home to seals as well, like their resident ringed seal, and 5 other uncommon species which sometimes are in the area. That area of Ontario...
I thought polar bears live in far northern parts of Canada, like places like Whitehorse, Yellowknife, Gracefield. I didn't know that part of Ontario has polar bears. This polar bear, as I've learned, is really dangerous an animal. It's actively haunting human beings. He feels so confident. It feels like Merlin, yeah. But this thing is big, really big. And it is like the type of animal that is actively haunting human beings to eat. It's not like when it sees you, it needs you to provoke it. No, it needs to just come and get you.
Like their resident ringed seal, and 5 other uncommon species which sometimes are in the area. That area of Ontario, it's such a barren and almost undiscovered world up there, isn't it? These giants are seasonal visitors, coming ashore in the summer when the Hudson Bay ice melts, and then returning to the ice once it reforms in the winter. Occasionally, the polar bears will even wander near northern Cree communities, where efforts are being made to prevent human-bear conflicts. Few people know that, despite their cute appearance, polar bears are actually one of the only 4 animals on Earth that will actively hunt humans. The other 3 would be tigers, crocodiles, and leopards. So with that in mind, let's move on to another predator animal, which is nowhere near as dangerous as the polar bear. If you have watched my channel before, you no doubt are already aware of my series devoted to cougars called Mountain Lions of Urban Ontario. In this series, I'm trying to prove that mountain lions in Ontario are not transient animals from very far away, and they're not released pets, but these are wild animals living and reproducing in our suburbs. So far, in my ongoing investigation, I actually have captured over 50 photographs of mountain lions living in Ontario. And I think that's really cool. I think you guys have definitely been a huge help with this project. I've actually collected over 1,100 sightings of cougars being in Ontario. Something people are not aware of when it comes to cougars is that they're nowhere near as dangerous as people think. When it comes to recorded lethal attacks from cougars, there's only been about 30 lethal attacks in all of recorded history, which is definitely a lot lower than even our resident black bears in Ontario. So they're a very timid animal, and they definitely want to leave us alone whenever possible. As you guys know, I can talk about mountain lions all day long, but to continue the video, let's move on to our next contestant, which is an animal which is a dinosaur in its own right. Meet Ontario's biggest freshwater fish.
Oh, I'm so tired.
The lake sturgeon.
This, guys, is the biggest fish in my life.
Specimens in Ontario have actually reached over 7 feet long and 11 inches, close to 8 feet, and they weighed over 300 pounds. However, these animals are locally endangered, and specific laws protect them even from recreational fishing. What many don't know is that these animals are often targeted by poachers, sadly, for their expensive caviar. However, some locations far up north do actually allow catch and release fishing for these animals. Some individuals of Lake Sturgeon have even been recorded living well over a century. Our next animal is smaller, however, it is actually an exceptionally skilled hunter.
I love you and goodbye.
Meet the fish.
Catch and release fish.
You don't come back to the house.
Your father here that you need to go for community discussion. Honestly, I think it's nice. You guys are preserving your wildlife for us. Fishers will fish everything that gets into the net. See, you already have the meat in your hand. Just like release it right back. Okay, that's good, Canada.
Actually an exceptionally skilled hunter.
I love you and goodbye.
Meet the fishing spider. It can grow up to 3 inches in leg span. It can walk on the water surface using hydrophobic leg hairs, and like its name suggests, it hunts fish. They will stand on the edge of the water surface and wait in an ambush position. Using special sensitive hairs, they can detect the vibrations in the water. When the minnow is within striking distance, they grab it out of the water and inject it with venom. Maybe this channel just likes fishing or something, but I found these guys pretty cool. However, let's move on to another animal now, which you should never judge by its size.
Spider is hunting fish.
That's funny, yeah?
That is a real badass spider there.
Let's move on to another animal now, which you should never judge by its size. That being the wolverine. They live on the western portion of Ontario, near Manitoba. Specifically, one area around Red Lake has a good hotspot of them. Anyone who's ever taken the time to research wolverines loves them. And why wouldn't you? They are basically just Canada's version of the honey badger. They will steal food from 400-pound black bears, wolf packs, and even cougars. They just don't care. They have been known to hunt and kill deer, caribou, and even injured moose. Not bad for an animal that only averages 4 feet from head to tail. I think people like them because they're living proof that with determination, talent, and the right attitude, the little guy can always come out on top. However,
What? This thing is doing what? Hunting down deer? You can hunt and lost deer.
You can hunt for Africa.
You can hunt deer. What the?
I think people like them because they're living proof that with determination, talent,
There's
and the
something
right
people are not seeing in this image, and it's that bird that is hanging around. Like, you should take down this deer and eat so that the bird can have some of it.
Yeah.
That bird is a badass. That's an opportunist. See, the bird is just hanging around like,
What's it?
I know you can do this. Finish, let
Go
me have
ahead
my...
and do it.
Go ahead and do, let me have my own shit.
attitude, the little guy can always come out on top. However, I think we all know about the wolverine more or less if we have an interest in nature. So let's move on to something else close to home in our own suburbs. That little danger noodle you see on the ground is the Massasauga rattlesnake, Ontario's only venomous snake. The animal is to be considered endangered, but it does have a strong hold on the Georgian Bay area, the Wainfleet Bog, and the Ojibwe Prairie Nature Reserve area. Their range has been limited to these locations as they depend on wetland environments for hibernation to survive. This species is actually a pygmy rattlesnake, and they only get on average to a length of 18 inches. The only 2 times someone has died from this rattlesnake in Ontario is kind of frowned on because both of the times that person did actually not go and seek the proper medical attention, or at least that's a word on the street. Rattlesnakes are actually a very timid animal and not an aggressive one whatsoever. Up next is a predator animal, which is actually new to Ontario's suburbs. Lately, more and more people are noticing that Ontario's coyotes don't quite look like the ones they remember. That's too big to be a coyote, they say. And they're right. Many of these wild dogs aren't pure coyotes anymore, but are hybrids between coyotes and wolves, known locally as coy wolves. Since coyotes only moved into Ontario in the last century, these hybrids are actually a fairly recent twist in Ontario's ecology. So how do they differ from regular coyotes?
They have long legs, they have thick fur, they look very wolf-like.
Well, for starters, they're more pack-oriented. They can weigh up to 55 pounds, which is another 15 pounds heavier, and they're better equipped to take down larger prey like full-grown deer, unlike coyotes. So if one day you spot an unusually large coyote in southern Ontario, chances are it's carrying some wolf DNA in it. Now, let's move on, but if you're afraid of bugs, this next one might freak you out.
I'm away from work.
What?
You think that'll... Get off, get off, get it off, get it off, get it off.
Meet the giant water bug, also known as the toe biter. And like the name suggests, these bugs have the habit of biting someone's toe while they're walking barefoot in creeks and lakes and rivers. Their bite, sadly, is no joke, and it is very painful. The famous Coyote Peterson, someone who is known for testing painful bug bites, even he does not take this bug lightly. He had a video where he got stung by one, and he kept stating, "It is worse than a sting." And that man's been stung by a lot of painful bugs. They are Canada's biggest aquatic insect, and they reach about the size of a miniature lighter. They can fly, and they can hunt prey underwater, searching for insects, tadpoles, salamanders, fish, and even small frogs. Giant water bugs can pretty much be found anywhere in Ontario, but I will...
The thing literally can walk on land, fly in air, and swim in underwater. Yeah. That's an underwater torpedo.
We'll put some locations where they have been found on screen. So the next time you want to take your toes out for a dip in a natural setting, maybe just keep these giant toe biters on the back of your mind and wear those ugly water shoes. Now let's move on to what might be the rarest mammal in all of Ontario. Badger, 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 mushroom, mushroom. That's right. Ontario has its own American badger. And there's actually two separate populations. A southwestern population near Lake Erie in the Norfolk and Middlesex areas, and there's a northwestern population found near Thunder Bay and Rainy River. Their diet is actually interesting, as it includes groundhogs, mice, voles, and even snakes. In the western US, badgers and coyotes have even been observed teaming up to hunt together. The coyote chases prey above ground, and it dives into a burrow where the badger digs the animal out of the burrow. Sadly, there's actually belief.
Bro, is out
Just
here.
chase the other animal from there.
Yes, literally for me an alliance. So the two of them are walking, a badger and a coyote. So the coyote follows the animal. If it enters a hole, the badger will dig the hole and bring out the animal.
Oh, but I'll be like, step aside.
Step aside, let me do this. This is my part. Let me do my part. Bro, it's like, yeah, he's in there. Bro, look at, he says shift a bit. Hold my beer and let me come. See?
Prey above ground, and it
Like, move.
dives into a burrow where the badger digs the animal out of the burrow.
Bro, it's like a digger.
Sadly, there's actually believed to be fewer than 200 badgers left in Ontario as a province. So let's move on to an animal which, surprisingly, many of us in Ontario have hardly heard properly about. Have you ever seen a fisher cat? Well, it's not actually a cat. It is a member of the weasel family. They actually get a lot bigger than most people realize, with their size going up to a maximum record of 20 pounds and being over 40 inches in length from head to tail. Since many people don't know these animals really exist, they often get mistaken for wolverines or crazy animals. Despite popular belief, though, these animals typically are not dangerous to humans. However, they can attack someone, like if they feel cornered, but that situation is not super likely. They're actually one of the only predators in North America that can reliably kill porcupines. The next animal I actually caught once while I was out fishing, and it caught myself and my family by total surprise. It's not every day you bring up a fish and then you notice there's little legs connected to it wiggling. Not many people know that Ontario has its own version of the axolotl, known as a mud puppy. These salamanders are fully aquatic, just like axolotls, and have been recorded to grow over 16 inches in length. These guys are totally nocturnal, and they're actually an indicator species of a healthy environment. Unlike most amphibians, they never hibernate when winter arrives, so they stay active all year long, which I found pretty cool. For the next animal, I want you guys first to listen closely before I reveal what is making this sound. You ready? It sounds like a velociraptor from Jurassic Park, doesn't it? I once was out fishing, walking in some swampland. I kid you not, I heard that sound right next to me. It freaked me right out. I turned my head over and all I see is this giant bird. That bird was actually a Sandhill crane. Now, these birds are huge. Like, they have a wingspan of 7.5 feet. And when they're standing, they're over 4 feet tall.
7.5 feet should be 2 point something meters. That means the wings should start right from there and reach here. For a single bird.
Such tiny legs.
Micro legs.
They're massive cranes. And what's interesting about these guys is back in the early 1900s, they actually came really close to being regionally extinct in Ontario. But since then, they've grown to well over 2,400% of what their population used to be. And there's like over 100,000 of them today. So they've had a great comeback story. Another animal which you might not know actually lives in Ontario would be the gray fox. Now, when we think of foxes in Ontario, we usually think that we only have red foxes, but that's not actually true. Peely Island in Lake Erie actually has a population of fewer than 60 breeding individuals of gray foxes. So, unlike red foxes, these animals, as you can see, have a different colored coat. They like climbing trees, actually. They're known as the fox that climbs trees. And they're slightly smaller and prefer woodlands over fields, unlike red foxes. Now, as I have promised, though, I have saved the most intriguing animal for last. But first, I'd like to show you some honorable mentions, which don't need much explaining. we have the five-lined skink, which is actually...
I think we have this lizard here. I've seen this lizard here. We have this. I've seen this here.
We have the five-lined skink, which is actually Ontario's only native lizard, and it is known, of course, for its iconic blue tail. Ontario is also home to a species of flying squirrels. We also have tree frogs, but they just aren't as big or vibrant as their South American counterparts. We also have the venomous black widow spider right in our urban suburbs. Make no mistake. Ontario is also...
He lost the husband in the 1812 war in Canada and the US. He lost the husband.
Right in our urban suburbs. Make no mistake. Ontario is also facing an invasive population of feral pigs, as many of you are aware, and we also have a diminishing endangered population of caribous in northern Ontario as well. There's many animals you can discover on your own with some research in Ontario. However, the next animal likely will catch you by total surprise. There's an animal that the public has been spotting in Ontario, but the people who are seeing it are very credible witnesses, like government-trained wildlife technicians, educated wildlife rehabilitators, and zookeepers. All people like this have sworn to see this very animal. There is also one government-verified photograph captured in Guelph, Ontario in 2010. The bottom line is people are seeing large melanistic black cats. The term for an animal like that would be known as a black panther. At first, myself, I didn't buy this. I just thought it was local folklore, but people kept submitting to me very convincing video evidence, and very credible reports continued to spiral in. After visiting a sighting location in person to gauge the size of the recorded animal and seeing the tail in the grass in the video, I have no doubt these animals are very real. This was a big animal. What species these big cats are, however, continues to be studied. They could be released jaguars from the exotic pet trade, which are able to survive until harsh winters come. They could be illegally smuggled Indian leopards, which people are releasing, or it could be an animal which is completely undiscovered to science, perhaps a black cougar or a South American puma. I have my suspicions. However, I will not let that go until we have fully studied every single submitted video to me so far. I am getting help from scientists, from animators as well, who ironically are actually the people who study the muscles and the movement of these big cats more than anybody. And together we're going to work hard to verify which specific big cat people are seeing. If you want to know the findings of our Black Panther research, the only way for you to really get notified on that in the future would be to hit the subscribe button down below, as I really think we are quite possibly making the biggest ecological discovery in Ontario's history.
Thank you so much. Thank you for watching. I think some of these animals really surprised me, like the wolverine. And the wolverine is kind of a very nasty animal. How can you take down a deer? And foxes and coyotes. I don't even know the main difference between a fox and a coyote. I thought there was the same animal. But anyways, thank you so much for watching.
Yeah.
We love you from the west coast of Africa. And stay calm, waiting for the next video. Till then, respect.